Hello class, welcome back for another exciting Python video. And in this one we're going to work with Python strings. Up here I have two variables, one called squote, where I convert the contents to a string, and I have a second variable called squote2, where I encapsulate the value within double quotes. This goes way back to the beginning of the semester, two different ways to put a string into a variable. And over here is the output window of the code I've run. What I do here is I say while the position, which is 0, is less than the length of the quote. What is the length of the contents of squote? C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Remember it's 0 base, so we say as long as the count or I position is less than the length. 0 is less than the length. We come in the square brackets treat the quote, the value here, as a list, and we get at the first element, which is C. We add 1 to position, we come back up, and we say 1 is less than the length, and we get the H. The output of this loop here can be found here. See how we were able to extract one position out at a time and write to the screen. Here's another way of writing the exact same code, and you can see it's much less. You don't have to tell it where to start, you don't have to tell it where to end, and you don't have to increment. So the output of this particular loop is actually found right here. And I'm going to ask you to look at this loop, which is a variation of the for. In this particular one, we're using squote, which is right here. What do you think it does? It starts at position 0 and goes up to the length, but not including the length by 2's. What it does, if I position the window, is it will actually pull out every other character of the name Chris Ortega. And you can see that it starts this loop actually starts here on the output. We take the first character, which is a C, and we go over 2 more and we get the R, then we go over 2 more and we get the S, then we go over 2 more. So it prints out every other character starting at the beginning up to the end of Chris Ortega. Now I'm going to position the code down a little more, and we're going to focus on this piece of code here. This is my dog's full name, Moose Kauai Comet Bassador. He has 4 names because we never could agree on a name, so each of a member of our family gave a name. Moose being he was the biggest, Kauai, my favorite island in Hawaii. Comet is one of my son's suggestions, and we call him a Bassador because he's half Basset, half Lab. And what we're doing here is called concatenation. We take the value of Moose and tack on to the end, or add on to the end, a space. We put his middle name and a space, his middle name 2 in a space, and his last. And that is how we come up with this. So this code here produces this. Now let's talk about slicing. Slicing is where you pull out certain values from a string, and you usually give it a beginning and end. So right here you can see we said start at 0 and go over to the 5th position. So let's see how that works. Remember, we start at 0, so what we do is we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we don't include the 5th, and that is how we get Moose. What we do here is we don't give it a beginning, but we give it an end, and what it does, it goes from here up to this position. Remember, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We say 7th, but it is not inclusive to the 7th. And that is how we end up with here. Look at this slice. So just as a recap, beginning and end, but does not include up to the end. This is assumed to start at 0 because we didn't give it a beginning, but we gave it the end. In here, we give it the beginning and we tell it to go to the end of the string. So what it does, it goes to the 7th position to the end. That's what this code does, and that is how we end up with this. And what do you think this piece of code does? Start at 0 and go to the 26, but not including 26 by 2's, and this is how we get that. And notice we do here, the beginning is, and notice you always have the square brackets, we go -5 from the end, and then what we do is we go this way, and that is how we end up with Sador. Now we're going to go down a little longer, a little further I mean, and we're going a little longer, and we're doing this piece of code here. I'm going to highlight it, and that gives us this. How many characters? What is the length? How many characters in the S full name? And here we say, is the contents of S full name, is it full of alpha characters? And the answer is false because there is some spaces. Space is not considered an alpha character. Alpha character is A through Z, upper and lowercase. And notice I can say S full name ends with an R, and the answer is true because it does end with R. That true corresponds with this. This piece of code takes S full name and converts it to lowercase, and that is why I get everything in lowercase. Right here I put up to the screen dash, 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 Kayla, dash, 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 and a couple spaces in Pasquale. This code says S name strip, left strip. What means come in from the left and strip out or remove any of the hyphens. So this piece of code comes in and removes all these dashes, and we get Kayla with the leading dashes removed. R strip, if you can guess, does a right strip. It strips all these characters, and that is why we end up with the dashes in the front, Kayla, and nothing here. And if I do a right strip dot left strip, we get just Kayla. And another way you can write this code is just say strip. Take out the R, take out the L, and just say strip, and it strips out all the hyphens. And notice with Pascal, what did I do? I strip nothing, and I get the blanks. I'm sorry, I strip out the blanks, and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This code here strips out all the spaces, and I just get Pascal, which is the length of 8. I hope this helps on your journey of Python strings.